Us and Tempo Storm have a lot of history together, obviously. We've been tight scrim partners in the past. They're kind of going through a rough patch right now. I think that our team is kind of starting to surpass them a lot more than it's been in the past. When we play them at LAN, we've always beaten them, and I think that we have enough confidence from that and enough confidence from how our scrims have been going lately that we should be able to easily beat Tempo Storm with their current state.
We haven't been too happy with our performance for a while since we kind of got wrecked at mid-season. We're really focusing on our mistakes and trying to get better. So we're feeling pretty decent.
I think after 2 losses last weekend, a lot of people are sleeping on us now. But I still think that we're the best North American team. And our record doesn't reflect that statement, but I think we're still capable of being at the top. Yeah, it's going to be a long uphill battle from here.
Well, Sam, you guys are going up against Roll20 next. It is a storied rivalry between you guys. How are you guys feeling about that matchup, especially versus the new-ish version of Roll20 with Goku?
We're going to win.
So I'm saying that they are going to win. And for Tempo Storm, it's nice that they're able to come in clean from this weekend. They're able to watch Roll20's match versus Team Freedom yesterday and maybe even pick up on some of the weaknesses that they might be able to abuse like Team Freedom did. Is there anything that stands out to you that maybe Tempo Storm can use from that match versus Team Freedom yesterday?
Against Team Freedom specifically, I do feel like there's nothing that they can use, but there's definitely a lot to gain in terms of confidence, if that makes sense. So I didn't feel like there was such a glaring hole in one aspect or another to where they absolutely need to abuse that, but I do feel like there was maybe not the proper performance out of Roll20, and that makes Tempo very much feel like, you know, we are more confident. Again, we have the factor of, we touched on it yesterday, that it's online, and that is where Tempo has been more successful than Roll20. And even that, on top of it, it's got to be comfortable here for for Tempo Storm.
Well, as difficult as that loss might have been for Roll20, the reverse sweep that Team Freedom were able to achieve, they absolutely cannot let that defeat bleed into this series because they need this victory just as much as Tempo does. Again, looking toward Western Clash as well as the Global Championship behind. We are ready to look at the first battleground and see where we will be fighting. The fights will take place for game number 1. Tempo Storm has chosen Sky Temple to make battle. We've got Cursed Hollow banned by Roll20, Cursed, and then Infernal Shrines, as always, banned by Tempo Storm. So Cursed Hollow back to the ban for Roll20, which means their ban on Infernal Shrines yesterday was solely because of Team Freedom.
Yeah, and I feel like this ban is solely there of Tempo. You know, Tempo has shown to really like to, in phase number 2, they've picked up Cursed Hollow. It's spiked probably about 2 whole map, like, increase of prioritization for them, so I think that's a very heads-up ban. But moving to Sky Temple isn't something I look at as overly dominant for Tempo. You know, I mean, it's their pick, and they're very much going to be comfortable. They've thought this out, but I don't look at that as a Tempo map. Historically, very much hasn't. So I'm really looking forward to what they have in store for us in Game 1.
I am as well. I'm really looking forward to the draft for Game 1 too, what we might see from Tempo Storm. But before we get to that, our players have been talking about this match. You guys at home, let us know what you think about this match. Tweet using the hashtag HGC. From the Warrior player of Tempo Storm, Fury, today is step 1 to see if we deserve to go to the Western Clash. Tempo Storm versus Roll20 esports is something you don't want to miss.
He's not wrong. I mean, that was it's going to be a hype one. And Glorong here on the other side, tweeting at Caterpillar, letting him know, you know, whoever loses possibly has to go ahead and buy themselves dinner. You know, that's always a nice bet to be able to have.
I think it should be winner buys dinner.
Yeah, that's...
like, sorry we eliminated your chances for the Western Clash, but here's some KFC. I don't know why I thought KFC.
Gamer food of choice, I guess. Yeah,
KBBQ.
No, that is a little bit of a, you know, adding salt to the wound type deal there. But I love it. You know, whenever we can get that from the players, showing that even though they are very much on opposite sides of the battlefield, that long-standing players have known each other, been such close friends for a long while. But Gilly, when it really comes down to it, it's all about what happens on the day of the tournament, and here we are. It is Game 1, Sky Temple between Tempo Storm and Roll20. Let's get into the draft.
I hope these players had their meal, got prepared, because we could be in for a long haul, all 5 games, because these teams have gone all 5 games so many times when they have played, maybe even every single time, really. They have... It's been an awesome rivalry to develop between these two, but only one can continue on, at least here in part 1 of Phase 2. Roll20 has banned Uther. Tempo Storm considering potentially a global ban. You know, Roll20 has still shown that they have a lot of focus onto Dahaka.
Tassadar is something that I feel like has to be in the focus for Tempo. Roll20 was so on top of the prioritization of that hero. It felt like any case that they could get it, and Sky Temple was no exception. We questioned whether or not they would go directly into the Tracer. They showed patience and not needing to overcommit with the Tassadar. Roll20, without a doubt, is just comfortable picking him up without picking the all-in style of play that we traditionally have seen through the task. But Tempo disagrees. They're hovering the Genji. 5 seconds left. I expect that's what they're going to go with. I do want to say that the Genji ban specifically for me, when I was talking about things to gain confidence from on the side of Tempo, was I did feel like, for instance, Glorong on Genji was not nearly as impactful as I wanted to see for that group of players. And that's the kind of things that I didn't think it was enough to utilize, which they agree by still showing the ban, but it makes you feel better about that performance. Like if the Genji in a later draft has to go through, they should feel a lot better about knowing that, you know, Roll20 maybe didn't have the hottest performance up against Freedom yesterday.
Well, Tempo Storm probably are going to have to deal with Roll20's Task Tracer. However, they may be able to take things away like Vala Ariel here, at least the Ariel, or... Man, it's hard because Roll20 has shown that they're even willing to run Task Ariel Tracer together without having a battery too. So if those are concerns for Tempo Storm, they need to take it away here because Roll20 still has 2 more picks before the second set of bans.
And the amount of time spent here for Tempo Storm to be able to get these 2 picks, I feel like it's one of 2 things, because nothing about this pick ban phase is surprising. They chose the map. They should assume that Tassadar was the first pick. So it's either they're buying time to really think through the rest of this draft and some of the predicaments that they might find themselves in now that the Tassadar has been picked up, or it's the opposite. You know, I just that amount of hesitation, I feel like it can go both ways, and I'm hoping that it shows that Tempo in their 2-3, or excuse me, in their 3-4s comes out with a really nice turn here. But first, we have the Roll20's next 2 picks.
Tempo Storm has taken Dahako away, so that is again, favorite of Roll20, but Roll20 is not going to go in the Tracer route just yet. They're first going to make sure that they get Ariel Tassadar, which is a strong combination no matter what damage dealers they end up getting, and then get Arthas, which again has been a hero that Tempo Storm is willing to draft. However, usually both are played by Fury. So in this case, it would have to be if they believe that Caterpillar is going to get Arthas, or maybe just making sure that they could get Arthas so that it's not banned later on. And
Illidan has got to be a focal point here for Tempo Storm into this draft. Not only because they have Dahaka already on their side, Illidan into the 1v1 is very successful into Dahaka itself, but look at the heroes on the side of Roll20. They've got the Tassadar to be able to enable. They have the Arthas, who's considered not only synergistic, but also a direct counter. So Tempo, I feel like now that they banned the Tracer, have to intend to pick up an Illidan for themselves, or very confident with that they have the tools to deal with it. Because now I still assume that we'll see that out of Roll20, even though they are, again, not picking it maybe before the secondary ban phase with the Tassadar like we'd assume. They seem very comfortable, just here's our task, and if you let that stuff go through, we'll pick it up, but we aren't going to force it. They show patience within their drafting.
They're going to ban away Stitches. So a new Barak is still available if Tempo Storm want to get that here now too.
Cassia is something that I actually don't hate the idea of Tempo Storm moving into, a very melee-centric composition. Anytime you expect the Illidan to be prioritized on the other side of the table, Cassia is not only a very good hyper carry that can get the burst damage out necessary, but she conveniently has the blinds to make Illidan's dive far less, I guess, appealing for Roll20 if they go in that direction. By the way, Tempo is very much going to be taking their time. This is a bit more, you know, again, that hesitation alluding to what we saw in the 1-2.
Now they get Malfurion too. It's an adjustment from both of these teams that we're seeing in this. Enough so that I'm kind of like, oh, I just want to let it happen and see what they're going to end up with. But going back to a new Barak Dahaka, that has worked a lot for Tempo Storm. They get Li Ming, they have a lot of Li Ming players, so that is a flexible role for them and allows them to flex out whatever they need for that last pick. And then Malfurion back. June's been playing a little bit of Malfurion. Uther is the definitely preferred support, but he is, of course, banned out.
Yeah, it does seem like this draft for Tempo Storm, what I view is just unlike everything that we've seen from them so far. There are, like, the Li Ming prioritization, the Dahaka, maybe not that far off, but then the new Barak into the Malfurion. They aren't unmeta picks, but they aren't in the order that we expect from them traditionally. So again, continuing not only the changes from them, but draft priority is not something that Tempo usually gets a little bit wild with. So it makes me more optimistic about how this game is going to unfold. We'll see here now if the Illidan is the choice for Roll20, even though they have the Ariel, or if they go with the hyper carry. Vala, there it is, and Leoric on the other side. It's just everything for Roll20 is powerful.
Yes. Different. Although the Vala Ariel Tassadar is consistent. They have been playing some Arthas. I'm wondering who is going to play which of the warriors. We haven't seen any Leoric from Goku yet, although he's played it before, definitely. And since he tends to be the side soaker, it seems like that would be it. Finally, Greymane for Tempo Storm. So a double reset composition of sorts could be, if Greymane wants to go for the throw, or Curse of Bullet to go up against the double warrior of Roll20. Roll20 getting their Vala, Tassadar, and Ariel, so they're ready to battle.
Yeah, it's just Roll20 here has such an old school composition. I mean, they got a lot of what they wanted. I'm looking on the side of Tempo to feel like, do they have those kind of playmaking tools to be able to deal with such a powerful composition on the other side of the table? And I feel like they do, but I feel like the burden of execution is a bit more on the side of Tempo Storm, not only because of obviously recent results and some of the things that we know happening internally with the team, but it just feels like, again, with the adjustments of Tempo and the priority into the draft being a little bit different than what we normally know, I feel like, you know, it's their job to prove that, you know, why they are making these changes.
Well, they do have the Global of Dahaka again. They have all heroes that we know that they have been enjoying drafting and playing so far in Phase 2. The one thing, again, that's different maybe is June playing Malfurion instead of Uther, but again, that is his second favorite support, and Uther was banned out from them. But so too do Roll20. The biggest change is bringing in Leoric. They made one similar change yesterday versus Team Freedom 2 playing Malthael for the first time. We're ready to get into the game, so let's head into Sky Temple for game number 1 between Roll20 and Tempo Storm.
Here we are. In the blue is going to be Tempo Storm, where June is on the Malfurion. We have Fury playing the Dahaka. Koth and Luck is going to be the Greymane this game. Psalm on Li Ming. And last is going to be Caterpillar. He is on a new Barak.
And in the red, Roll20 esports with Glaurung playing Vala. Justing playing Arthas. Up next, Leoric played by Goku. Tassadar will be played by Prismaticism, and finally Buds will be playing Ariel.
Roll20 here. Again, I feel like they took little to no risks into the draft, getting a lot of what they want. Tempo for now, though, moves up to the top half of the map. It's being mirrored by Roll20 onto the bottom. It's just going to be taking out the front walls. Traditionally, you would argue, you know, this isn't really that beneficial to one side or the other. I might give the upper hand to Roll20 a little bit, or excuse me, Tempo Storm, just because Roll20 does have a successful early game composition with the laning phase aspect of it. And Tempo, they don't fail, but they aren't known for it. So I feel like if you get an even trade against Roll20, it's a slight edge to Tempo.
Yeah, and generally when you are facing, or when you're playing a Vala, Ariel, Tassadar composition, you know that they're going to be pushing somewhere. The trifecta wants to get some early structure damage, and generally that place would be in the bottom lane. So leaving Fury there to try to kill the minions as fast as he can, slow things down while the rest of the team takes out the 4 on top, allows them to get a better spike into the mid game, get closer and faster to their level 10s.
Kato tried to get a bit of an initiation, hopefully catching Goku out too far. I did want to kind of bring up, he's definitely got to be going down, right? Wraithwalk is not off cooldown for a long while. But I wanted to bring up how
some time.
They have an opportunity to move into old school Zul on Sky Temple with the Leoric into the Royal Focus. We'll see if they go in that direction. I don't think they necessarily have to, but it's common to see it on Sky Temple where you go for that double side soak. Other parts of the world have picked it up recently. So I just wanted to highlight that it is an option.
It would make a
common.
lot of sense in
Yes.
this composition specifically because they do have that stronger four-man with Arthas, Vala, Tassadar, and Ario. So we'll have to see.
Nice.
There it is, Royal Focus. So that enables Leoric to be able to soak and move back and forth between lanes and dual soak lanes because as long as he doesn't take damage while in Wraithwalk form, it reduces the cooldown of Wraithwalk to 4 seconds and even makes your next Skeletal Swing do 50% more damage. So being able to clear out those waves of minions fast and then move back to the other lane.
Yeah, it's actually one of the most ridiculous talents in the game, in my opinion. It is so very much fun to be able to play out here, and we'll see if Roll20 can make proper use of it. But for now, looking at the shots, it has been a flat trade. Neither team really too interested in trying to stop the other. I mean, other than really just the early kill that Goku kind of gave up onto the top half of the map due to the Wraithwalk use, there has been little to no action. It's just all about the structure HP.
And taking out the structure in the top lane enabled Tempo Storm to get the top temple, not have to worry about brawling with Roll20's early damage dealing composition, but still be able to get some damage into the mid structure too. So now that that temple phase is done, each team starting to work their way down to getting giants, get some pressure done in the bottom lane, especially Tempo Storm. If they could get some damage done to the towers there, to the well especially too, it puts them in a better position if they want to fight over the second temple phase.
Interesting choice of the Triumvirate there for Psalm on Li Ming. It's something that on the maps where we know they have a predictable area to kind of stand in for a long while, Cursed Hollow delaying the tributes. Hold up here, Prismat, I don't think there's a dimensional shift, and if so, he's got to dodge a root. He had it up and was able to make it out. But I was going to say, it's a talent that it's actually even being paired with the level 7 here. He's all in on Orb build here with Zai's Vengeance.
Wow.
Right? I mean, that is just a very interesting choice. And what I was saying is, though, it's come out on maps where you know your opponent has to stay around an objective for a long period of time, and you can get multiple max range orbs. And it's essentially kind of a fish in the barrel type approach. So we'll see if Psalm can make use of the level 4 and 7 talents in this game.
Putting himself in a safer distance so that he maybe doesn't get caught by an Entomb or even within range of Arthas' Frozen Tempest and his Howling Blast too. Speaking of Arthas, it's Justing, so we know what build he's probably going to go into, and that of course is Icy Talons paired with Rune Tap, trying to up his attack speed and then get the self-heal off of Rune Tap with every third basic attack.
So now we're 10 seconds away from the secondary Shrine phase. Roll20 has managed to get a bit of the experience between phase number 1 and 2, but no one is indicating to have very much interest towards those shots. Caterpillar moves in here, trying to get the initiation. Double knock up, adjusting, slowing everybody down. Nice root coming out from June. Heal is there, and Glaurung trying to get the rebuttal. Now Fury coming in the backside, gets the drag.
Drag there on Glaurung, but looks like Psalm is just trying to disengage, actually went through the boss pit. Tempo Storm hanging out still in the mid. It pulled Tassadar up off of the temple, but Tempo Storm starting to fall behind in experience. They're going to give this another go. They've got the root underneath, and Ariel is taken out, just obliterated with the orbs and all the damage of Tempo Storm. Even the reduced healing from Strangling Vines coming into play too. No Ariel for 13 more seconds.
Glaurung dancing around, poking around a bit more. Scattle's actually out of mana too, so he just burnt his escape. Justing trying to get the slow out there. Howling Blast has not gotten enough slow to hit the Cattle, but they did get onto Koth and Luck. That is Greymane down. Now Drag coming out from Fury. Prismat dropping a shield, and it looks like everybody's going to be all right. But Gilly, I just had a bit of an epiphany, and I really needed to ask you, if you take Hot Pursuit on Vala, but you're not actually chasing and you run away, does it make it a Hot Retreat? Because that's a serious question we got to have answered.
Yes, I think we should have to start calling it that.
It's the hot retreat. When you're chasing them down, it's typically a pursuit.
The problem is that no one wants to talk about having to run away. That's not cool. It's the hot pursuit. That's the part that's hot. If you're running, it's just sad.
It's a cold retreat.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. It is the exact opposite, a huge contrast. But, talking about contrast, it feels like there's a bit of a contrast in play here so far. Roll20 has managed to achieve about a half level in experience. They're securing a lot of the shots on bottom, but more importantly, due to we were talking about the early game trading that Tempo made happen structurally, now, their HP on structures is not so even, losing not only an extra fort, but nearly all of the fort up on top once these shots are secured.
Those shots are going to go through, and it is extremely low. There is no mule to help bring that fort back up to full. But Tempo Storm now have heroic abilities. They've got the zoning of Cocoon. They have adaptation so that Fury can be a nuisance in the back. And then they have their Twilight Dream and Curse of Bullet to help with the double warriors. Over on the other side, no Rain of Vengeance from Vala this time. It's all about Strafe, all about trying to build up that hope for Ariel.
Also, one thing to note is that Roll20 will get a little bit stronger at the 13 mark, moving into the Burning Rage there for the Royal Focus. Suddenly, he doesn't have to spend the amount of time getting the auto attack on all the minions that are left with 1 HP after the Empowered Royal Focus Q swing. Nice Entomb here. Fury's going to end up scuttling on down, but he's buying time for the boss. Tempo immediately started the boss when they realized there were that many members of Roll20 up on top, and it's going to be uncontested. So this... yeah, I feel like it's not a winner on either side. You know, it's a slight victory for Roll20, maybe a bit more to Tempo, just because they should be able to gain more than they end up losing.
Yeah, Roll20 tried to make the rotation as soon as they realized that Tempo Storm were at the boss, so nobody was on the map to be able to spy. But the minute that the boss was taken, Goku continued up in the top to take down that final fort. So no forts remain. Once Roll20 gets the next tempo, they'll be able to do a lot more. But the engagement's happening. Glaurung is taken out while Ariel's in the cocoon, not there to hit the Crystal Aegis. And now Justing's in trouble, forced to pop the Army of the Dead.
Buzz made it out. Now Goku looking to join in onto the skirmish here. He's going to drop the Entomb, locking Entomb. Twilight Dream going off, hitting a lot of the members. Now Cattle again with another burrow. Goku's not done though. He's wraith walking it like offensively here, even though he's so very low onto the mana. The damage seems to be there. Aegis is going to be dropped. Does he make it out?
Yeah, the minions blocked the orb, but didn't hit him yet. Goku makes it out. That's another advantage of something cool that you can do with that Royal Focus is Wraith Walk in aggressively, as long as you know that your body is in a safe spot, that it's not going to take damage in that time, and you'll have your Wraith Walk back in 4 seconds.
There is a huge difference, too, with the talent that we see. Though he did move into the Royal Focus, he didn't go into the Lingering Apparition, which is often the most value for the later stages of the game, because then essentially you have a far safer distance to not only initiate, to make sure you get the no damage necessary on your Wraith Walk, but then you also have a more likely to get experience in lanes that are way too deep and traditionally be risky, because you do move at the mountain speed when you go into the Wraith Walk, and having that double distance, it feels like in some of the cases, really can make you just never be afraid to soak a lane.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if we're going to have something like the renewed swing, a second swing at 16, but we'll have to see what he takes here at 13. Once again, Volley gets taken out. Immediately a Crystal Aegis after the cocoon keeps Ariel alive for now, but that was a strange number of interactions that all led to the demise of Buds. So many walls.
Yeah, there's a lot of zeros and one flying across the screen at that point in time. And the only conclusion I really have gotten from it is that's 22 seconds where Roll20 is not going to have themselves Buds. Tempo Storm looking to capitalize on that fact, moving up to the front wall here, keeping up the pressure whenever they find themselves even the slightest bit of an advantage. Prismat, knowing he can take the riskier positioning due to that dimensional shift. Cawthon went into Worgen, but it's merely just a light trade for now.
We've seen this Arthas build before, building up Eternal Hunger into Frost Strike that not only reduces the cooldown so that you have that increased damage off of Frostborn Hungers, but also makes us slow. So another way for Justing to be able to control his enemies' movements. But so far, Roll20 has been struggling in the fights. The Cocoons have been really good to put a lot of pressure onto Glaurung and then either get the kill from that, make him back up. Buds has a hard time of trying to heal back up. So Tempo Storm has been dominating in these fights and has allowed them to come back into this game.
Yeah, and we also see that at the 13 mark, not going to the Burning Rage, so way less focus onto that wave clear. That makes a lot more sense considering the level 7, the Lingering Apparition isn't there. Their later stages and the value of Royal Focus are essentially, again, non-existent due to the argument I presented before. So I like this transition going into the 13, and we can expect more teamfight focus there. Getting that 10% spike with the 13 talent tier. That was a lot of numbers and not so many words.
And you rocked it all.
Oh, we absolutely just nailed it. You know, apparently I forgot my ability to learn how to speak since I am role-playing as a Secret Service agent today.
Yeah, you don't really want to talk very much as a Secret Service person except to maybe make sure the Eagle is landed.
Yeah, that's about the only thing. And that and the guy named Houston, whoever he is, he gets a lot of conversation.
That's not Secret Service at all. Not even a little bit. Along with Crushing Hope, we'll see if we have...
I didn't even think about that. You're right. Aren't all governmental, you know, like, establishments near the same?
Not at all.
Levels are not the same either. Roll20.
No, 16 to 15, but Roll20 is almost there for 16. See if it's Unyielding Despair now that we have Crushing Hope, like you were talking about for Leoric.
I don't know, the 7 makes me feel like I can see it different. At this point, it's up to him, and he's going to, again, stick with the more standard later stages of the Leoric build here for Goku. But we got shots up in mid. Only one altar stands. Goku afraid to move forward, testing the waters. Drag there from Fury, max range. Forcing even a dimensional shift. That's a cooldown he may want. Keep in mind, he has no Archon. There is no immediate reset for that tool.
That is correct. Has to play safe until he has that back. Roots go down, trying to zone away Goku from Fury. Fury's going back in. The cocoon has gone down. This time it is on Prismaticism. Not quite the same effect that Tempo Storm had when they were throwing it on Ariel. And now Roll20 totally ready to get into a fight knowing that that is down. They've got the force wall zoning away Fury. Cattle is really low, so it's hard for him to want to go back in. But Fury doesn't have adaptation. He'll go down.
Adaptation was used in the middle of that Entomb, so once that cooldown was burnt, once he used that burrow, there was no way he was going to be able to survive unless the rest of Tempo all in to be able to save his life. Now Roll20 immediately is going to transition here down to this boss. There is only a one-man difference. Is there any major boss tools? Cursed Bullet, obviously effective. Twilight Dream's intimidating. But Tempo is just now identifying this. They're just looking to make sure they deny as many shots as possible, not even going to risk moving outward.
Yeah, they've done a lot of damage to that mid keep already, and knowing that so many members of Roll20 were at the boss, they're going to do significant damage to that keep, if not take it out with the final shots, unless Roll20 can get on it, and they can't get there in time. So Caterpillar uses Cocoon to get away from Goku. Cattle makes it out, first keep down, but a boss barreling down bottom lane toward Tempo Storm's keep.
But now Roll20 needs to make sure that that boss was worth it. They lost the keep for this level of decision making, and now they realize that they need to try and find a way to, fight back over what happened here with Tempo. Goku abusing the fact that, again, that Royal Focus, that cooldown will be back up very, very soon. The boss below 50% HP. Entomb goes down onto Cotton. He goes ahead. He's like, I'll take the Worgen, swipe right on out of that, and that is now a heroic not available for Roll20.
Boss doing some damage to the keep, but it will be saved by Tempo Storm. And Roll20 not wanting to get chased back down on the Death Bridge. We've had far too many fights that have not gone in favor of the team who fights on there, that they will back on out, just steal away the Giants, try to keep Tempo Storm back, not let them have any sort of advantages that might be on the battleground.
I wonder if Roll20 is sitting there questioning that decision at this point in time, because it is debatable. Losing the keep, I see the thought process there, and maybe the assumption was that there was no way they would secure the rest of the shots in that amount of time. And I mean, shout out to Cattle for being able to get that level of punishment. But at this point, you just got to be like, man, we gave up a keep and we only got a little bit of damage out.
Yeah, at the very least, at least there's not Mule. So if they're able to win a decisive team fight, take them out, it's already sustained some damage to try to move in through there. But that seems to be the plight of a lot of our teams, is these early bosses.
And another priority, there is one silver lining to that boss that you don't see on the side of Tempo that exists for Roll20. And what that is that conveniently, the middle shrine is one of the more less common-ish, and getting that damage up through bottom. Bottom is the most likely lane to see a shrine spawn. Obviously, other than the first. And then after that point, it makes it not only because of the boss, but you can secure a keep. So suddenly, by getting that front wall, they go, it's more likely that the shrine will get us now this secondary keep onto the bottom half. Yeah,
and also in a 3-lane battleground, having your keep down in the mid isn't the worst because you're rotating between all of the lanes.
Yeah.
So you can try to clear out the catapults in those rotations. But now we see Roll20 moving toward the bottom. They don't want to allow Tempo Storm to be able to trade out, but Tempo Storm has the advantage of having a global. They already have Dahaka moving toward the top temple.
There he is, the man himself. Now, Roll20 with this information should know that Dahaka is up in the top lane. You always walk around with the assumption that the global, in fact, is going to be the opposite side of the map. The difference between altar number 1 being that of Roll20 on bottom. Look at the shots of remaining right below the 50% mark. Now, that of Tempo Storm, they're just rounding out to the 60, now into the 50. It's not a difference enough for them to make that transition. So there's really no power play here left for Roll20. Luckily, though, they're restoring the HP back here in terms of the keeps, after getting that bottom altar.
Yeah, because of the damage they were able to do with the boss, it paid off for Roll20 in the end. They take out 2 keeps. Tempo Storm will do some damage here in the top. 5 more shots left. But it's not enough to actually take it out. Tempo Storm have already prepped their bruiser camp for this situation, trying to escort it up. They are very close to Storm Tier Talents, but so too are Roll20. This is close.
Tempo's moving up. You can tell they want to force it. Dahaka and Leoric showing onto the side lanes. Those are not one and the same. Glaron Got initiated on, uses the vault defensively. Cattle got force walled in. Howling Blast connects. He goes below the 50%. Another force wall is dropped. Rewind is forced to be used, and he burrow charges away. Tempo is now on the retreat, and Glarong is looking to force this. Roll20 wants to be able to take this fight. Dahaka nowhere to be found yet, but without that Howling Blast connecting, it looks like Tempo will make it out.
Yeah, this is a level 20 force wall Tassadar. Those force walls are going to chase them all the way home until an Entomb lands and pulls them home. Cawthon was trying to get out, the Twilight Dream even being used, but it will be, unfortunately, to the death of June. 2 kills now as Roll20 finds another. They're chasing down Som. We've got the slow. He teleports over the wall. Still caught by the Howling Blast.
Mad respect to, Prismaticism and Justing there by expecting the blink over the wall and trying to be able to get that lockdown there, both mixing by a fraction of an inch. But now, with 2 members dead, Roll20 says that they have the ability to end this game. They're going to move up. There goes the drag. Now on to Goku. He needs to be able to keep alive. Reset. Psalm is one of the best anti-core heroes in the entire game. He just needs one. But Cattle is caught out. The Rewind is unable to use the shielding, get another impale, and now Roll20 looks like they have it. They're going to go onto the core, and the shielding's gone. Roll20
knows that there's no support left to try to help, so being able to take out Cattle was huge, and Psalm had to go back in to heal back up. Roll20 in this back and forth game number 1 are able to defeat Tempo Storm, going up 1 game in the series.
Already setting the tone here, because we have to keep in mind that that was in fact Tempo Storm's map selection. Again, we immediately looked at that and was like, this is not what we know of Tempo, but we assume that, you know, they have the master game plan. They've very much been working on it here because it is their map pick. So now Roll20 getting that win, even more of an edge when looking at the future of this series.
It is, and Tempo Storm likely will pick first pick, which means now that they have to go to a battleground of the choice of Roll20, which means they may not be able to get a larger battleground where they might be able to push along with their globals for Dahaka. But then again, Roll20 gets Dahaka just about any battleground, so it may still happen.
Yeah, and you know, we have Battlefield of Eternity available, and we have Tomb of the Spider Queen available. Those have been the highest priority maps when looking at Roll20 specifically, so they pretty much just get whatever they want out of those 2. If they feel like the smaller map, in fact, will better their odds, they can go to the Tomb, but if they feel like it's just, again, that skirmish, getting that slight experience lead on Battlefield of Eternity until they hit the breaking point like we've known of them, it's whatever they want to make happen, they very much can, and Tempo's got to be scared.
Well, we're going to take a look at statistics between 2 players. I believe we have Prismaticism versus Cawthon Luck. Prismaticism has been affected, we'll say, by the role change, or the roster swap, the roster change that came in for Roll20, bringing in Goku. But it seemed to be sort of a way for Prismaticism to be able to be more on his comfort heroes and play all of the range. We talked to them very early on, and they said that it was in the efforts of being able to allow Prismaticism to play all of the ranged and stop the flexing that he had to do sometimes in order to make their compositions work.
Yeah, and we see the only major statistical difference here, I feel like, between the 2. They seem to almost be matched, except for when we're looking at the general hero damage and then that of the kill participation. Prismaticism finds himself pulling ahead over Cawthon Luck, but I feel like a bit of that comes down to just the trending of playstyle we see out of Roll20, and maybe a bit more when it comes to the hero selection. But overall, very competitive between these 2 teams. You know, if we were to take, I don't know, Roll20, and then you go against some of our teams that are struggling in the scene, it is very lopsided. So it shows that these teams are just that close when it comes to the numbers.
Yeah, when we look at some of the heroes and who's been playing a lot more, for Prismaticism is a lot more Tassadar, which may be a reason for that change in the statistics too, but more so Li Ming, and then a very even amounts of Greymane for either of those players.
Yeah, the Greymane flex has been something that all North American teams have kind of adopted, that they view it as he is general enough and necessary enough in most compositions of meta that we have the multiplayer. But we are getting ready onto the secondary map. I'm pretty